I like, don't fall into that trap that these people doing on TV. Saying, cause he ain't no thug. Cause he ain't in the street. He ain't about that. He ain't no gang. You don't want that. How y'all know you don't want? Y'all know that boy? Do y'all know that boy? Cause I don't.
So this one is, obviously we just did a Ja video recently regarding, Ja's behavior and his actions jeopardizing his NBA career. And this topic of discussion actually came up today when I was getting my haircut at Death Wish Barber. Shout out to my barber Cruz. He's a big NBA fan and he loves talking NBA. And we're actually chatting today again that he's now become a Spurs fan because of Victor, because he loves Victor Wembanyama. So he's a bit of a bandwagoner, but shout out to him anyway. So if you're ever in Melbourne, the western side of town, then pop in and see him because he does a good job. But if you're not in Australia, then you'll have to wait for him to obviously head to your country on a holiday to maybe cut you up. But anyways, the point he made, we were discussing a bit about Ja and like talking about, I was telling him how we made this video and he goes, I was actually watching this interview with Lil Wayne and Matt Barnes, and Lil Wayne's saying, what if Ja Morant was always a gangster and was always part of the thuggish behavior or had thuggish tendencies even when he was younger, but we just didn't know about it, and the NBA is basically making it out to be that he's this perfect image and that, we want him to act this certain way, but maybe the pressures of him being with his, or like having to support his family, his dad putting pressure on him to be an NBA player, and all of a sudden he's gone from an unranked recruit in high school to going to a small school like Murray State to all of a sudden being a top 2 projected pick, would have probably been the number 1 pick any other year that Zion Williamson's not in that draft. And all of a sudden you've got this massive media spotlight and attention put on you and millions of dollars in your pocket. It's kind of like, has he done this just for his family and just to support them? Or does he actually genuinely love basketball? Or is he actually a thug and these guys that he hangs out with, he can't help that because that's just who he is and that's just his personality? Like Lil Wayne basically defended him and said, we don't actually know the true Ja Morant. All these people saying, Ja's acting up, Ja's acting a certain way, he's portraying a certain image. For all we know, that could be his legitimate image. And we're just thinking that all these NBA players have to be saints. They're all a perfect kind of person because if they're getting drafted into a league, all these due diligence checks get done. And ultimately, they draft a player without any risks. Obviously, look at Brandon Miller. In this year's draft, he had that issue with one of his teammates who killed somebody and he drove the car and the gun was in the back seat that was used in the murder, and like they're all bad images. But I think Brandon Miller is actually a genuine good guy, but I think he got caught up in that. Whereas Ja Morant portrays the opposite image. He looks like a quiet kid, an underrated, unassuming kind of guy, I should say. Sorry about that. And basically he's gone from that to being in the national spotlight, everyone becoming, looking up to him, buying his sneakers, blah, blah, blah. But for all we know, like I said, we don't know whether that image is actually his true identity or not, or whether he's actually a thug. So what do you make of this, Marcus? Because I thought it was interesting that my barber brought this up, and I actually kind of, now that when you think about it and it actually goes into your head, you kind of think, well, maybe actually he's got a point there, you know what I mean?
Well, my thoughts come like the famous saying they say, I guess, nobody asks to be like a role model type thing. And I don't think Ja Morant, like going into high school, we know he was teammates with Zion on this AAU tour and all of this, but he wasn't necessarily the most known prospect. I mean, Ja Morant was found in, I think, a scrimmage, like just at recess or something, at lunchtime. Someone spotted him in the gym and he ended up getting that Division 1 offer to Murray State University. And it's kind of like the professionalism of Ja Morant, he's kind of had to learn on the job, like with even in interviews and things of that nature. I don't really like labeling, like I don't want to label the term thug on Ja Morant, but it's just like there has to be an extent, like there's a limit where, like you said, he's getting all these endorsement deals. He's acting up in in vehicles, pulling out guns on Instagram Live, and it just makes you question if he's really actually like realizes the impact he kind of has on on kids who kind of look up to him. And like obviously he never asked for that to begin with, and technically he's not doing anything illegal by doing that, but it's just the persona that he's kind of putting out there to the mass. It's not a good look for the NBA, and it's not a good look for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I think it's just like, you're right, like we don't really know the true story of Ja Morant and what he's kind of gone through before he's made the NBA. We know he lives in a big house, he has that court outside, and his dad trained him until, you know, he could jump out the gym and all this, jumping over tires, things of that nature. But yeah, there hasn't really been too much said about the life before the NBA with Ja Morant. And obviously his social media was linked when he was a kid. People kind of, you know, poke jokes at it. He's like 13, 12, 14 years old in these photos, I guess. And it's like, yeah, people do change, but it's just like, I don't know. There's a missing link between Ja Morant, kind of what his persona is and the image he kind of pretends to be almost. There's like two different sides, and it's just too hard to pinpoint who the real Ja Morant really is. And it doesn't mean he's a bad guy. It's just like, maybe he was put into a business and an organization, the NBA being the business organization, the Grizzlies, and it's like he doesn't know how to handle the world, the mass world, because he's not used to seeing a professional environment like the NBA.
Yeah, 100%. I think also going on to that point, it's a mystery, like, because we sort of just we don't know what his upbringing was. We obviously see the big house, but you know, there's a lot of people whose parents think they're good kids, but secretly they don't know what they're actually up to outside of all the stuff that they're doing in their household. You know, they can put on this like you know, like an invisibility cloak, basically, to say like, oh, you know, I'm a perfect kid, I'm a perfect son, but for all we know, that he could have been a delinquent, hanging out with a bunch of, you know, youths, getting up to mischief, you know, getting up to no good, you know. I'm not trying to say that he did that, but again, there's a strong possibility, and we don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's one of those things that will always remain a mystery until maybe, I think ESPN definitely needs to do a 30 for 30 on him in the future, because I think the kind of stuff that he'll share and reveal, like those 30 for 30s are always real deep, and like, you know, you really find out a lot about a certain person that you would never have pictured or worked out just from just seeing them on an NBA court on a night-to-night basis. So his life story that he'll tell once his career is all said and done is going to be one for the ages. So I'm looking forward to hearing from that and finding out more about his life and, you know, what actually went on in this particular patch of his life and his early life that, you know, obviously caused him to act this certain way and, you know, and act up on all different fronts. Even like on the All-Star, on the way to the All-Star game, like him and his homie were sculling his whole bottle of tequila while he was on Instagram Live as well. It's not the first time. Like, he's just got this obsession with like Instagram Live and flexing weapons, drinking, and like having this like rapper gang
they don't stop
sort of culture.
So it's clearly he's not around like what people consider to be the right people. Like, his friends aren't stopping him. They're like encouraging him almost. And at that point, it's just like, you know, they've been brought up together. You know, they've been friends for a while. But at the same time, it's just like, know who the people, like, they're not looking out for him to an extent. Like, the guy has millions of dollars he's got to lose, like hundreds of millions of dollars. That's generational wealth he could put towards, like, he has a daughter, like his daughter's daughter, like he could mess up a lot, and it's sad to see because he's so young, and you don't want to see any of it go to waste. And obviously he's a talented player. I don't want to speak too soon, and I know I feel like people might get offended by this video, but at the same time, this video is only really technically looking out for Ja Morant, and because we don't want to see his talent go to waste.
100%. And, you know, even today, like, he scared a few people with those Instagram stories that he put up or a day before, whatever it was, and the Tennessee state police had to come out and actually go to his place to see, make sure that he hasn't harmed himself. And he was just like, no, I'm just taking a break from social media, which, you know, it's a subliminal message, but obviously he's taking that break for a reason. You know, there is genuine issues and concerns there for his well-being and for what is actually happening in the background, behind the scenes, behind all the, you know, what's portrayed on the media and on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, an interesting few months for Ja, and what his path to in the future will take, and hopefully he can turn the corner. And he's too good of a talent not to be in the league, and the kind of fanfare and excitement he brings, and, you know, his high flying and ballsy nature on the court, and, you know, he sells tickets, he puts bums in arenas. So at the end of the day, he puts bums on seats, he brings people into the arena. So at the end of the day, he's too good of a player to not be in our league, and I'm just hoping he turns the corner. So hopefully it's the last we have to talk about Ja and, you know, all his troubles and, you know, the concerns we have for him. And at the end of the day, we just want to make sure 100%.
That... Like, we don't... To the viewers out there, like, it's not that we, like, want to talk about this. Like, we don't want to, but we feel it's our need to, because it's obviously one of the biggest talking points surrounding the NBA at the moment, and it needs to be addressed. And it sucks to see, like, a player like Ja almost go to waste, but we don't think it's going to be to that level. But if it continues to happen, I mean, most certainly likely that it would.
Let us know what you guys think anyway. I know we've done the video previously and people have chimed in, but like, just relating to what we've talked about today, and, you know, giving it some thought, let us know what you make of this whole theory and this, you know, potential that, you know, he may have been like this from a young age, regardless of all those memes that you may have seen on TikTok about, you know, the Eminem 8 Mile parody sort of thing. You know, legitimately he may have these tendencies, like we mentioned, and he may have been brought up this way around a certain environment in South Carolina, in a small town. Then he goes to a city like Memphis, which is one of the highest murder rates in the world, and, you know, a lot of it's rife with gang culture and all that sort of stuff. So again, that in itself hasn't helped. And when you're the biggest name in there, and you like listen to certain music, and, you know, you're part of that whole rap culture, that you know, gangster rap sort of vibe, it's kind of, it makes sense that he is the way he is in, you know, acting up in a certain way. But like I said, I don't want to go into it anymore, into any more details. Just let us know what you guys think. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Bench Mob community. And it's not just the channel, that's why I'm saying it's a community, because once you're part of it, you're a part of something bigger. Correct. Yeah, you're not leaving. But yeah, we look forward to hearing your take on this in the comments. And yeah, hopefully, like I said, it's the last we have to hear of this whole Ja Morant dilemma and trouble that he's obviously been going through. So yeah, without further ado, that's all we have time for in this video. My name's Danko.
Bench Mob. We'd appreciate you guys subscribing. We love having you guys on. For now, I'm out. Danko, I don't know about you. Wrap it up. I'm heading off.
It's been your boy Danko, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Peace out.
Oh, I walked off the set.